Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 22 My Team Career Mode. This is part number 2 today for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. If you guys did miss the opening episode of this entire series on this brand new F1 game, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one uploaded yesterday. And I gotta say, before we get into everything, thank you guys so much. The support, the response on that part 1 has blown my expectations out the water. This morning on the 20th of June, we were even trending overall on YouTube, not even for gaming, just overall YouTube videos in the UK, which is absolutely insane. Something I never would have imagined 10 years ago when I started uploading F1 career mode episodes. But here we are then, part number 2, Saudi Arabia, Jeddah. What an exciting race this is going to be for the second ever episode, because, you know, just like in real life, in the game, Jeddah is pretty damn spicy, and especially even more so in the game because of how, you know, racy the AI seem to be, especially on this new version of the game. You know, the AI are so aggressive sometimes, and quite lifelike in terms of their aggression and their mistakes equally. So I think it's going to be a pretty damn good one. Obviously, in this very early stage of the career mode, we are still trying to build our acclaim of our team to unlock the first sponsor. That will already unlock some actual earning potential and then therefore HQ facility upgrade. So it's still very early days, 0 points on the board from Bahrain. A lot of learning done though around Sakir, you know, about the tyre wear, the general pace, and I think I know where we need to improve our car going forward. Of course, we've already purchased a couple of upgrades just to do the usual weight reduction, drag reduction upgrades that we know that the FOM My Team car needs in general. But now I think I know we need to also pay a bit of attention to the tyre wear potentially, and then further weight reduction. I think that's going to help us out because there's so many points, and ERS, because there were so many points where AI were catching us off the acceleration zones around Bahrain. But that could just be circuit dependent, because Jeddah is going to be a very different challenge. But before we get onto that F1 challenge around Jeddah, we have our very first Pirelli Hot Lap event. So this is a new thing on this game with the supercars in the game. So very much like almost in real life with the Pirelli Hot Laps, where you get celebrities, you know, getting lapped around in supercars around the F1 circuits by F1 drivers. We have got this kind of Pirelli Hot Lap mode now that's interweaved into career mode. So we've got a average speed zone challenge here in a McLaren in the second sector of Jeddah. So effectively you have to try and get an average speed of 100.75 miles per hour. So a bit of a different left-hander in a supercar versus the F1 car there, down to second gear, going a bit wide and then getting on the power nice and early and trying getting that kind of a straight line on the exit, and that will get us bang on as I hit the wall there, but it won't matter because I crossed the finish line. That'll get us bang on to what we need to get the gold, and this is quite important because it gets us plus 1,000 on the acclaim points and 100k in cash, which doesn't seem that a lot, but remember, due to our career mode settings that you guys voted for, that I showed you guys in part 1, we need every little bit of money, every little bit of acclaim we can get, because we're beggars can't be choosers, and we're very poor and we are very low down on the acclaim level. So we're, you know, for this first season at least, you're going to be seeing me definitely do all of the Pirelli Hot Lap events to try and get and maximize every single thing we can in this game to build our team up, to get our car, you know, where we want to be basically. So now going into the F1 race weekend, doing the practice programs with the mini game, trying to get as many points as we can, and we actually maximize everything with the boosters as well, the discounts we're going to get on some of these upgrades, as well as all the R&D points. So pretty much a perfect practice session, although I will say I can't confirm it for sure right now guys, but I believe we have the same issue as F1 2021, where I think if you do the quick practice programs, it wears out your engine a little bit more. It may just, I don't know, it may just be me wearing out the engine quite a bit around Sakir. I don't know, but it's unconfirmed yet. But I've looked at the engine wear, and it seems quite high, having just done one episode in one race. So we'll have to see how it goes for the next couple of episodes doing the quick practice programs. But as you can see, you know, my internal combustion engine's already on 34%, which seems kind of weirdly high. At the same time though, I've done no durability upgrades, but at the moment I don't feel the need to. I want to make our car as quick as we can in the first stages, then maybe about a third of the way through the season, you know, around maybe on the Monaco Grand Prix, we can work on the reliability a tiny bit. You know, the gearbox upgrade comes first and then others. But but we'll confirm that for you. Just, I don't know, 34% seems quite high, even with no durability upgrades, because in last year's game, for large part of the series, once we had that kind of issue fixed with a patch, we didn't see that level of, wear, even without upgrades to durability. But I'll kind of confirm that in later episodes for you guys. Just a little hunch, as I saw in the menus. But right now, we won't worry about that. We'll just carry on. Our engine's still performing well. It's not worn out, into the yellow zone for anything, so we're just going to focus on the raw speed of this car and, well, how this new era of F1 cars takes around Jeddah. And I'm hoping that the drivability may be a bit better, around here versus Bahrain, because you've got so many flowing high-speed sections, and that's where all the downforce really comes in handy on this year's game's physics model. Lower speed, the car's very twitchy, very cumbersome. High speed, though, it's still very grippy, and it's actually real joy to drive. So I think we're going to find we might go better around Jeddah than we did around Sakir. And indeed, I'm matching Drogovic here. We're very closely matched right now, P13 to 14. Although Lewis Hamilton, can't say the same for him versus his teammate George Russell. So, like in real life, in the game here, will Lewis Hamilton be knocked out early doors in qualifying around Jeddah? This would be quite amazing and a bit weird, to be honest, for it to match real life so amazingly perfectly there, with Hamilton struggling, with Russell being right up there. Yeah, that's going to be quite interesting as we go out for our second flying lap then at the end of Q1. And, well, you know what? At the moment, myself and Drogovic would make it through into the Q2. Obviously, Drogovic did make it through into Q2, so it's not even a case of it would be a breakthrough achievement for our team to get through into Q2 today, because Felipe already did that last episode. But can I do it for the very first time? Let's see. Second flyer. We've gained about a 10th in the first sector. We're going to try and get a little bit more through the banking, be a bit more aggressive on the turning, and then on the exit, try and get the power a little bit earlier, a bit squirmish on the rear end, but we control it, and we do gain a little bit of time there, as we're now over 2 tenths gained as the checkered flag falls. Here we go through the last corner, and we've gained a heap of time into that brake zone, up into 7 tenths gained here through the last sector alone, across the line, and it's going to be P13, I think it is. Yes, it is. And that will get us through into Q2 for the very first time in this series. But like I said, Felipe, he got knocked out, but, it's his turn now, because he qualified where I qualified last episode in P18. So pretty much firm handshakes. We've kind of done one apiece, basically, making it through into Q2 and being knocked out in Q1. So it was my turn this time. I guess Jeddah just suits me a little bit more. And for sure, I mean, especially on last year's game, I actually started to really enjoy this circuit, really found a groove around it. So I definitely take to it a bit more than Sakir last time out. So here we go then, our first Q2 session on this game. I'm not expecting anything insane in terms of getting through into Q3, but just trying to see where we can place our car. Of course, Felipe got through last episode and then kind of, definitely got a reality check. So let's see what we can do for us, and we're going to get a reality check as we lose the back end for the very first time in this career mode series. And I'm going to say right now, expect a bit more of this maybe through the course of Season 1 at least, because, yeah, this game definitely has a bit more of a sensitive right foot throttle pedal, and has caught me out a fair few times in practice laps here and there. So here, it was bound to happen at least once early doors in qualifying one of these episodes. So there you go. Just was a bit too eager to go full throttle, still trying to suss out how early it can go. And to be honest, I felt quite confident there, but then the car just snapped, and it's so hard to catch, especially at that high kind of speed. So the first run in the bin, that's a bit unfortunate, but we do have one more fresh set of soft tyres to use. And like I said, we weren't planning on getting through into Q3 anyway, I don't think, unless miracles happen. So it's fine to burn this set. And of course, the tyre rule doesn't even come into play anymore in F1, so it wouldn't even matter if we used up extra soft tyre sets. But here we go, this time round, navigating Sector 1 a lot better, getting very close to the walls and a bit sheepish on the white lines there on the right hand side, but we do manage to navigate them pretty decently into the final corner now, trying to take a tight line, bit wide though on the exit, and that compromises our run out the final corner. So I don't think this will be as quick as our time in Q1, ironically, but across the line for us and it's going to be, well, P16. It will be last place in the session, so that's a bit frustrating. Of course, the mistake on our first lap didn't help me, but as you can see, to be honest, if we did off Q1 lap time here in Q2, that would have only jumped me 2 positions ahead of Ricciardo and Vettel. But nice to see my friends from episode 1, Vettel and Ricciardo, are with me, so we might be fighting them once again around here. But you know, kind of the same vibe as Drogovic. You know, one of our cars gets through into Q2, but ultimately then we get a reality check of everyone speeding up whilst we don't have any more pace in the tank, really. So it is what it is. P16, though, I'm happy to out-qualify Drogovic for the first time and make amends for last episode. And from here, I'm looking forward to the battle once again, potentially, with the 4-time world champion, Sebastian Vettel, and the cars ahead of us. I feel a bit more confident, even though the mistakes we made in qualifying, I feel more confident around this circuit. So I'm hoping our race pace could be a lot better than we showed at Bahrain. So let's go to the grid.
So here we are then, welcoming you today to one of the jewels of the Arab world. Jeddah, one of the biggest cities in Saudi Arabia, second only to Riyadh, gateway to Mecca. One of the biggest ports in the region, and now host to the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. So let's take a look at a topographical map of the Jeddah Street Circuit. As you can see, a number of challenging corners for the drivers to master here. We'll see just how much the teams have benefited from their time spent in practice this weekend. And like many street circuits, this track has the potential to punish drivers that get it wrong. Let's hope we avoid any safety cars today. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position. A very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Perez, George Russell and Fernando Alonso, Bottas, Mick Schumacher, Gasly and Esteban Ocon, Tsunoda, Norris, Guan Yu Zhou and Ricciardo, Vettel, the owner-driver, Kevin Magnussen and Felipe Drugovich, Albon, Stroll, Latifi and Lewis Hamilton rounds off the grid. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. Anthony Davison joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you here with us today. But I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
So it seems like Ferrari brought some upgrades then, because in Q3 it was all Ferrari on the front row then. Interesting times. I think I saw on the R&D chart as well, Ferrari did actually bring a further upgrade here, unlike most teams, including ourselves, of course, because a lot of us spent too much R&D, I guess, into Bahrain. And like Bahrain, looks like everyone's going to be starting on the medium compound tyre and going to the hards for the one-stop strategy. It's going to be, about, the question about tyre wear again, and just generally the grip we have at the end of stints and mid-apex. As I said, I'm feeling more confident because of the high-speed corners around here and the car producing quite a lot of downforce and grip. So I'm hoping we can have a bit of a better one and be a bit more racy throughout the entire stints and not just at the beginning of them when we strap on new tyres each time round. So here we are now, going to park up for the second time and get it spot on.
Okay, incredible parking there, nice one. That's going to give you the edge if you can get good launch as the race starts.
So our new engineer Mark's happy with that park up, I'm happy with that park up, and we're raring to go as we go to 5 red lights to the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Lights out and away we go. It's a mediocre start for us. It's a good one for Vettel, but he gets held up by Guan Yu Zhou in the Alfa Romeo, who had a real slow one. That invites us to go down the inside at turn 1. We've already got Vettel. Vettel's gone backwards by 2 positions and he's even been overtaken by Drogovic potentially. We get the Alfa Romeo on the exit and we're watching the 2 McLarens now do battle. Norris on the outside. Ricciardo the long way round. He's going to get shoved off surely into the wall nearly by Norris, but they continue to be side by side. Bit of contact made as Lando has to back out of that then. So very touchy stuff between the 2 McLarens, and there was also another side by side moment up the road ahead of those 2 there. So quite an exciting first sector, and all in all actually not too bad from us. Opportunistic to get the move on Vettel and Guan Yu Zhou as they both kind of got held up here with that kind of domino effect effect into turn 1. As we now go on to the end of the lap, we've got some fierce fighting going on between Valtteri Bottas and Pierre Gasly, the AlphaTauri and Alfa Romeo respectively. The Frenchman looking to make a move into turn 1. We're looking to make a move early doors here. We've saved a lot of ERS on the opening lap, and we're going to try and go on the outside of Lando Norris, but instead he has other ideas, and he instead makes a move on his teammate. So I wanted to make a move, instead I'm watching him make a move that I wanted to make, kind of, basically, because Lando goes down the inside now to, again, battle his teammate, and we're just kind of sitting back here, patiently waiting for the right time. That is oh so close between Ricciardo and Norris there. The front wing, you know, inches away from making contact between teammates there. But we've got a good run here. Can we maybe send one down the inside of the Honey Badger? We fought him so hard at Bahrain, and we're going to do the same again. Slingshot down the inside of the banker, get the elbows out, and on the exit, we're going to confirm the move. Meanwhile, up the road, there's a ferocious battle going on between Verstappen and Carlos Sainz. These two have actually been side by side for pretty much this entire lap 2, as Leclerc is pulling away from pole position. 1.5 the gap, but Verstappen is trying to break this 1-2 for Ferrari. Sainz holding on so strong, but the Dutchman's round up into P2, but the Ferrari will come back, and I'm sure the upgrades they made into this race are going to help him out, as he's going to pull through on the right-hand side to go for the outside line into the last corner. Meanwhile, you've got George Russell fending off Fernando Alonso. Back to our POV, we're going to watch Lando. Oh my God! And make an absolutely unreal dive bomb on Tsunoda. What was that? That was unreal. See, eventually, once we get comfortable with this game and get used to the braking, etc., get a few upgrades, that's the kind of dive bomb I want to be able to make, as we've got Felipe Drugovich, our teammate, in the pits early doors. He's been caught up in some action as we watch the McLaren finish the move off on Tsunoda. Tsunoda trying to come back at him, actually, and instead we're going to have an opportunistic chance to overtake him on the outside, very close to the wall on the right, very close to Tsunoda on the left, but we've done it. We committed and had a little bit of ERS to aid us on the outside there, and Tsunoda in the end of it, having tried to overtake Lando, actually compromised his own racing line. Meanwhile, replay here, lap 3, Hamilton really struggling in the Mercedes car, and he almost decked it into the wall. We've got the brand new model finally for the Mercedes and the Red Bull, you may have noticed, and so Hamilton, just like in real life around Jeddah, really struggling, whereas his teammate George Russell fighting Fernando Alonso, a very quick Alonso, and actually doing very well even to keep up with the Red Bull and Ferrari ahead of them both, but they're going to have an absolute scrap and a half, it would seem, in Sector 1. Russell on the left-hand side, Alonso on the right, and the two are basically going to do a bit of a choreographed dance around this entire sector. Eventually, George will get ahead, but you can bet your top dollar Fernando will be back to attack him, but not too far behind. I believe is Valtteri Bottas there in the lead, Alfa Romeo, and then the Haas of Mick Schumacher. A bit further back, there's a bit of a train forming, and we are on the tail end trying to keep up with Lando Norris, and I'm hoping that the guys ahead of us, as you can just about see there, Ocon trying to have a little snap at the car ahead of him. If those guys fight enough, I think we could actually get into the fight for P10 here, and we can definitely try and attack Lando here for P10 immediately, because he's not got DRS, we do, and so that's going to massively aid us to go round the outside of turn 1. Easy does it to turn 2, give him the room, whilst equally also squeezing him out on the exit, and he's actually in a full foul of Tsunoda there. But you can see, just like in real life, this midfield pack, they're fighting, we're all fighting so ferociously that what I'm not even driving that quickly, I don't think, but I'm comfortable with the circuit and I'm being consistent, and that's allowing me to close up to the cars ahead of me whilst they're squabbling, just like this. Bottas versus Schumacher, side by side into the final turn. Bottas defending on the inside, the German on the outside in the Haas there, and they're going to be going for a drag race now at the final corner, and the Haas is going to take it. It's Ferrari versus Ferrari engine, so there's almost nothing in it between those two. Unlike Russell versus Fernando Alonso, Russell having a bit more power with the Mercedes engine, but the Alpine really looking quite sharp in the corners. But it's side by side between the Haas and the Alpha, and continues to be side by side for the Alpine and the Mercedes car. So much great fighting going on from P5 down to P9, and hopefully we can join them, because we are running, well, at the moment in P10. It's so early days though, and remember what happened at Bahrain. We were so quick in the start of the race and the start of the fresh tyre stint, and then as soon as the tyre wear kicked in, we were horrendous. So we need to just kind of keep ourselves grounded a bit, but I'm hoping if these guys ahead of us continue to fight, Schumacher, Bottas, Gasly, Ocon, we could just kind of creep up on them and catch them napping, and then we'll just see what we can do in terms of defending from there. And you're going to start to see that potentially now on to lap 6. Ocon is vulnerable on the inside there, goes defensive, and we're going to go round the outside. He gets caught up having to get brake checked a bit by Gasly, and that will open up the door for the easy move up into P9. Again, like I said, I don't think I'm particularly driving very quickly. I'm just kind of, being cautious and picking my lines at the right time to make the overtake. Gasly tried to make a move on Schumacher, and I could have maybe, shot one round the outside and been a bit too eager, but we've got to be patient here and just try and keep our nose clean and just be consistent, really, because these guys are losing time to each other, just tripping over one another, and it's working out for us really well. I mean, it's great to see, though, to be fair. It works out for us, and also it means we get some great squabbling and some racing to show you guys, and they continue to squabble, Schumacher and Bottas. And can we try and maybe follow Gasly through? Maybe if we can't overtake Pierre directly, maybe we can both get through these two, because they're fighting so hard now for the last 4 laps. Although Gasly goes for a move and he's going to compromise his own line, and there we go. Easy does it on the outside by taking candy from a baby, and then Bottas makes some contact with Schumacher, and we go round the outside of the double right-hander. What a move on Mick Schumacher there. Lap number 7, and we're up into P7. This is turning into a truly remarkable race, and let me tell you, I'm having some fun. That was absolutely awesome. The satisfaction of finishing that move off on Schumacher on the apex of the next right-hander was insane. And now we're going to try and get Bottas there. We've got DRS. He does not. That's another major factor in this. The lead car in the pack, really vulnerable to DRS overtakes, and you need to try and break the 1 second, which Bottas has not done. And we've been very good with our ERS management, more so than Bahrain. You can see we're still hovering around 50%, whereas at this stage, I think we were kind of struggling for about, the teens, the kind of 15 percentages around Sakir. So that's a major factor as well as to why we're doing so well in terms of attacking the AI, because we actually have ERS to attack them with. But into the final corner, Bottas absolutely pulls my pants down there with a switchback move. We locked up on the front left, and the Finn just got a really tasty move from right to left done on the exit. But now can we come back at him? Maybe not. He's got DRS, and that will help him into turn 1, but we'll stick with him right up his gearbox. Ocon, though, is closing up, and we know from where Alonso is, clearly that Alpine's got some great pace, so Ocon is the big threat here of overtaking both of us. But Bottas is going to help me, kind of just with the DRS, pull me along like a horse to its carriage. And as we swing through now, we're going to get the final bite of DRS before the final corner. Can we make a lunge on the inside or the outside? Bottas will cover the inside line. The AI seem to be a lot more aggressive at covering the inside line on this year's game, so we go for the outside move instead. Very close to the wall, very close to Bottas, but we do get the traction crucially on the exit, and we have a lot of ERS to dump on lap 10 onto 11 to get away. But we've now got the pit stop window, so that's why I'm dumping so much of the ERS right now, because we know we'll kind of get a bit of the battery back in the pit stop phases, so we can afford to burn a bit of ERS battery just before we come into the pit. Ocon's made the move on Bottas, and you can see what I mean by the Alpine looking so damn quick. Ocon on the outside. We defend the inside line for the final time in this stint, because we're going to be coming in for the set of hard tyres now. Will Ocon follow us in? Don't think so, because Alonso's in. Ocon stays out. Bottas is in. We come in, and it's pin perfect to slow the car down in time for the pit lane limiter. That was an unbelievable first stint. That was so much fun. 12 laps of Jeddah. Absolute chaos and entertainment. We come in now for our one and only pit stop on the hard compound, but it's a slow stop because the rear left tyre has an error. So early doors, without any upgrades to our pit stop crew, it seems like we're going to experience quite a few mistakes from the pit crew unless we make upgrades. So that's something to think about. But we come out ahead of Bottas and Sergio Perez. He comes out behind Bottas. Bottas looks like he'd already made a pit stop, and this is a replay from way back on lap 7. So Perez came in very early in this first stint. He was on this soft compound. Oh, okay, so not everyone started on mediums. That's very weird. He had no damage. He just had to make a pit stop because he was on the softs. And then this is why Drogovic, by the way, had to come in lap 2 because he made some contact with the Aston Martin. And of course, we've got simulation damage. So even that tiny bit of contact on the front end with the Aston has meant he's got damage. You can see how quickly the Mercedes mid-apex gets away. So he's clearly got front wing damage. So that's why Felipe has been taken out this entire race. But that's quite surprising then. We had one AI, at least in the top 10, actually start on the soft tyre then. That's kind of promising, I guess, to see the AI will choose a few different strategies, maybe here and there. But right now, back to the live action. Lap 12 onto 13. Bottas, we continue to fight him. But we've also got a Red Bull out of position. And Bottas again switchbacks me from right to left. But now we've got the Checo coming through in the mirrors on the left-hand side. And we're going to squeeze him a bit, but he's going to power past us, make some room for himself on the outside of Bottas there. We get oh so close to his rear end, but we spot a gap and we go for it. We ride the curb like a skateboard, and we're actually 3 abreast with the Alfa Romeo, and we're trying to push hard because we're not fighting Perez. I wanted to make sure we got ahead of Norris, who was just coming out the pit lane. So it was very, very important that we made that 3 wide with the Red Bull and the Alfa to ensure we got ahead of the McLaren. Bottas defending against Schumacher, and oh, the AlphaTauri's gone a bit wide. The Alfa's gone, and Ricciardo's got some damage now. Guan Yu Zhou and Daniel Ricciardo make some contact, and Ricciardo's slow. Ricciardo, I think he may just be retiring from this Grand Prix. Some major damage, maybe suspension, I don't know, with that contact with the Alfa Romeo, but he is out of this one. And here is a replay of that 3 wide moment, just to show you what I meant by why we needed to make this 3 wide. 3 wide there, lovely view, but there you go. That's why, because on the exit, I banged tyres with Perez, but he still has enough speed to pinch in Lando, and I'm able to then pinch him in further to maintain that track position ahead of the McLaren. And then this is a replay of onboard of Pierre Gasly, because he was the car that had issues behind us. Now, watch this. Into turn 1, he gets it all crossed up there and goes straight on, nearly off circuit, and that's going to put him off balance. You've got Yuki then getting ahead of him. The Alfa Romeo on the inside just squeezes through. This is tight-nip stuff there between Zhou and Gasly, and then Ricciardo on board with him, watching on this fight between the Alfa and Gasly. Well, Gasly actually gets the move. It's the Haas gets out of the way, very odd, and then the AlphaTauri goes off circuit, pushes Guan Yu Zhou wide, and then he comes into Ricciardo. So a bit of an awkward sector 1 there. Quite a few, like, so many things happening. It's hard to keep track of everything, but ultimately it means that Ricciardo is out of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. We move on to lap 15 then, 10 laps to go. It'll be 9 when we cross the line, but Mick Schumacher, we're in P7 right now, but Mick Schumacher may spoil the party as the Haas is flying. The Ferrari engine at this stage of the game without a performance patch is quicker in a straight line than the Red Bull power unit in the back of our car, and so Schumacher's able to get us. He's very aggressive. I was quite surprised from Mick about that to turn 1 because he really pinched me in there. We tried to repay the favour and go on the outside, but then as we try and keep around, we lose the back end and we almost ruin our entire race. You know, 1 more second of sliding and that could have been us sideways T-boning Schumacher in that section. So that was very sketchy, and I'm actually just very lucky to still be here in P8. And it's maybe actually going to be a blessing in disguise that Schumacher overtook us, because now we're going to get DRS off him, and it's going to help us just maintain this points-paying position right now, because let's be real, if I overtake Schumacher, I'm not going to chase after anyone else, because Perez is the next car. So really, if I stick behind Schumacher for every lap until the last lap, and then try and overtake him, kind of do the F1 esports tactic, save ERS in a DRS train, then go for the move on the very last lap, I can maximise, well, dare I say it, points-paying positions today, P7 maybe. So lap 19, it's been 4 laps of just being behind Schumacher, and on purpose, not overtaking him, just using DRS to save our battery, and we've stayed ahead of that fight between Ocon and Norris, but now Schumacher! Oh no! Mick! Oh no, Mick Schumacher He's at the Grand Prix. He's doing so well in this race, and more importantly, he was doing a stellar job of being our DRS horse to our carriage, because now we're going to be susceptible to Ocon, Norris, Tsunoda, Gas, everyone basically, because they're all going to have DRS on me, so that's quite unfortunate. Lap 20 then, 5 laps to go. Leclerc is dominating this one and looking to make it back-to-back race victories. Verstappen, Sainz then is the podium. Fernando Alonso, he's fighting for P4 here with George Russell because of Perez's kind of very alternate strategy. And for us then, lap 23, we've got 3 laps to go, or 2 and a bit if you count the rest of this one basically. And now Lando is right off our gearbox, as well as Ocon there in a bit of a nose-to-tail train, and this is squeaky bum time because this is worrying. We could get overtaken by 2 cars here. I'm in P7 at the moment, but we could be finishing down as low as P9 or even outside the points if we're not careful, because as we go defensive into the last bend, Ocon is side by side with Norris, but just a second back are the 2 Alpha Tauris and then also Magnussen and Hamilton. So this is going to be a very nerve-wracking end to this Grand Prix. 2 laps to go now. It's going to be 3 wide into turn 1. Ocon on the outside. He's going to lock up Lando on our inside, and we're going to just get through and maintain track position ahead of the McLaren. Ocon's actually kept it within the white lines and continues on in P10 as he's now battling Yuki Tsunoda, but the Frenchman went for glory for the double overtake and got it crossed up. As we're seeing everyone now struggle with the tyres a little bit, and into the next section, we nearly deck it into the wall. Oh my god. We were inches away from calamities there. Mamma mia. On the right-hand side wall, we almost decked it and DNF'd as Lando now defends from Ocon, and Lando's going to hit the wall. Everyone's tyres are going off, it would seem, as the McLaren maybe has damage potentially on the second last lap of the Grand Prix. It's side by side for we've got Magnussen versus Gasly, Guan Yu Zhou versus Hamilton, and Lando versus Ocon is still going on. We've got so much fighting from P7 all the way down to P14 with Lewis Hamilton, but Lando is in. He had damage. The McLaren, it's a disaster for him in the second last lap as we defend against Ocon in the first corner, but he forces his way through. We drift through turn 2 as the tyres scream out, and Ocon has stolen P7 from us. It's a mistake for us into turn 2, and just a good bit of a very aggressive driving from the Frenchman. Fair play to him, and he's got to P7, but to be honest, I just want to try and hold on to any kind of points. P8 would be a dream. 4 points in the second race only. Are you kidding me? So we're going to hopefully try and hold on, but Tsunoda is there. Magnussen's there. Hamilton in the Mercedes is there. We've got half a lap left to go. Leclerc has won back-to-back Grand Prix. From Bahrain to the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, Leclerc will take a commanding lead in the championship versus Verstappen because he's actually in 3rd place. It was a 1-2 for Ferrari. Even worse stuff there for the reigning world champion. It's great stuff from Carlos Sainz. We've missed the overtake because we've had so much action for ourselves, so apologies, but it's a 1-2 for Ferrari. But for us, we don't care about that. Let's go back to our POV because we're here in P8. We may have lost the position to Ocon, but looking where Fernando Alonso is, you can't blame Ocon for actually getting the move done eventually. But we're going to hold through, defend against Tsunoda into the final bend because we're going to come through for 4 massive Drivers' Championship points. Tsunoda gives us a run to the line, but in a crazy race at Jeddah, we get points for the first time in this My Team series on F1 22. What a race! What a race! Part 2, we've already had an absolute classic under the floodlights.
A sterling effort from the team and a magnificent drive to secure victory here at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
And here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium, taking their place on top once again. A sublime race today, and a stunning win for Ferrari.
Well, it's a pretty big statement from Ferrari, and they're kind of doing what they kind of hoped they were doing in real life, really. Dominating the early stages, stamping their authority in the first two races. There's a 1-2. They made upgrades. Red Bull didn't into this race, and it's shown. There's still time, though. It's a long season. Red Bull's AI team could bring upgrades, and of course, we don't know if there is going to be an early performance patch. That may change things quite drastically, so it's kind of good in a way. Ferrari are getting some early points on the board, because this could level things out then later on when Red Bull get that bump probably. But you can see Alonso did insane to get P4 ahead of Russell, so I'm not disheartened by Ocon overtaking us, because he was so aggressive with that move. I was just not expecting it into turn 2, and then I made that mistake where the rear end stepped out. You know, 4 points is still 4 points. I'm still so happy with that, and I wasn't even that quick. You know, you got to admit, I wasn't even that electric. It was just the fact that I was consistent this race compared to Bahrain. You know, I prefer Jeddah as a circuit versus Sakir. I'm a lot more consistent. I find a flow better, and that just worked for us. And also the AI fighting each other in the most entertaining fashion worked for us, and that, you know, meant that I had a great race, and also you guys at home just got a great race to watch with the AI on AI battles as well as myself. So what a great second part to this series. If you have enjoyed it, guys, hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Our first points of this season, nay, our entire team's career on F1 22. If you're new around here, do subscribe for weekly follow-on content. I've been aarava. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.